It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's Countywide.
Good day and welcome to the program. It is Countywide. Brad Miller with you, and we're happy to welcome into studio a guest that we've chatted with before. Marla Guerrero is the executive director at Rusty's Morningstar Ranch, a working ranch in the Verde Valley that the clients, the visitors, the guests, what do we call our?
We call them ranchers. That's
our
the
ranchers.
Work they do.
Are you've told me that before, and I regret forgetting that. Our ranchers are folks with autism, typically grown folks. Most of the ranchers, I think, are male.
Yes.
And you have about 20, how many?
We have 8 that live there.
Right.
We also expanded our day program, so we have people from the community now coming in to just for daytime activities. So
and about how many?
9 total.
Fellows. Oh, 9 total?
Yes.
Okay, I thought we was about 20 or so. Okay,
We
good thing you're
so.
here to straighten me out. I'm getting it all wrong. But April is important for folks who have a family member or a sufferer of autism. Autism Awareness Month, this month of April. And so what better of a guest to have come in than Marla Guerrero with Rusty's Morningstar. One of the things is you and I were chatting, getting ready, prepping for the show in the last number of days. I found some statistics that came out. CNN published these, and these were numbers released by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And I was startled by some of these. So for our audience, I'm going to kind of rattle off a number of things that they found. Overall, 1 in 88 kids in the United States have autism. So that's 1 in 88 of all children.
Yes.
That's up 78% from 2002. That's a decade.
Yes.
Boys, 1 in 54 have autism. That's up 82%. All of these within this same 10-year time frame. Girls, 1 in 252, up 63%. So many more boys than girls, but all the numbers up dramatically, well above 50%. Non-Hispanic white children is 12 in 1,000. That's up 70%. Non-Hispanic black children up 91%. Hispanic kids up 110% from 2002. If this was any other affliction, disease, illness, people would be running in the streets over these numbers.
That's correct.
I'm hoping that there's much better reporting in the last decade to account for this, and it's not that we're having some kind of an epidemic. And I don't know that autism even works in the same way that we would think of an airborne virus, say, or something like that. So all of this, you've seen these numbers. I was alarmed by them, frankly. Your take. What does this mean?
Well, there's many ways to look at it. With autism, there is no test to say whether this person has autism, a blood test, anything like that. So it's based on examining certain things that children will be doing in order to diagnose them. And over time, they've changed their diagnostic criteria somewhat. The last revision they made was in 1991, so that really doesn't impact this study because it's been within the last 10 years, and that change was made a long time ago.
Yeah.
One of the things that report from Center for Disease Control said that they believe that some of this increase is because people are more aware of autism now. They know better what to look for. And as we provide better services to people with autism, then people become even more aware of it. So they're looking for those clues much better than they used to be.
That makes the most sense to me.
Even with that, they can't account for that huge increase.
Yeah.
When my son was born that has autism, he was diagnosed about 18 years ago now. And they told me it was 1 in 10,000. So to have from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 88 in 18 years is huge.
Right.
Absolutely huge.
Have you studied, was 1 in 10,000 accurate at that time?
They said they suspected it was higher, but that's the numbers that they had. Yes.
Yeah. And again, and I guess if we look at these numbers and it causes some alarm, perhaps the better way to look at it and more appropriate way to look at it is, well, it is because we are, as you described, people understand better and it's reported more. That's a good thing. That
it is a good thing.
Parents with children with autism, usually autism is diagnosed at an early age, so we think of it like that way. Parents with kids with autism are understanding because it means that they're going to be able to help do more and
if the earlier you get a diagnosis, the better intervention you can get early on.
Like everything.
And they have studies that have proven if you can get that early intervention, there's many times these children make enough progress throughout their life that they will outgrow that diagnosis. Not all people, but with significant, now it's not easy intervention, it's 40 hours a week of really intense intervention, but they can get to a place where they no longer fit the criteria for the diagnosis. So that's critical that they get the diagnosis early on.
Autism can't be cured. You've told us that before.
That's correct.
At this point, it gets studied. A lot of things can happen. In reading more on this report, it talked about the autism spectrum, and you've talked about that too. But for our audience, again, if we can kind of visit that, it's not really a 0 to 100 and somewhere, or maybe you do look at that. I don't know. But when we talk about it, because I mean, there's folks who come to the ranch and who might have trouble, who are autistic, and who might have trouble just getting their own apartment and doing those kinds of things. But there are autism sufferers who are world leaders and have excelled in other ways. And so if just for an example's sake, we can kind of look at it that way. And then there's going to be everybody kind of in between.
Absolutely.
And how do you kind of go about, or can you even place someone on there? And does that mean that's where they're going to be?
I don't know.
Can we look at it like a scale? That's what I'm trying to do, and I don't know if that's right.
I don't know if we can even do that. I mean, it's not like you can kind of be pregnant.
Right.
Or it's not like you can...
Right.
I'm only slightly have cancer.
Yeah.
You know, it's an all or nothing thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that because you have autism, you don't have these extreme capabilities or lack of capabilities. So it's not that you're somewhere more impacted or less impacted. It's just that you have certain capabilities as opposed to other lack of capabilities. Some people with autism that have extreme challenges can be the most productive people ever, can hold those jobs that are really tedious that nobody else wants to do because they might be boring or something like that, you know.
We can find profiles where folks have said that they believe because of their autism,
absolutely,
it has enabled them to excel in a career line or a field in some different way.
Absolutely.
And I think maybe that is part of the reason why so many of us who are not touched personally become confused and have a hard time really kind of grabbing onto exactly what autism is and is not. Yeah.
I have a hard time with it, and I've been exposed to it for 20 plus years.
20-some years, yeah. It's just kind of hard to pin down.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about how autism is treated at Rusty's and how it works and what you can and can't do there. Marla Guerrero is our guest executive director, Rusty's Morningstar Ranch. We'll take a short break. Back to Countywide after this.
Here in northern Arizona and throughout Yavapai County, people count on Orkin Pest Control. With over 100 years of combined experience, nobody knows how to protect your home or your business from harmful or annoying pests like the Orkin Man. To start service, contact your Northern Arizona Orkin Pest Control. In the Verde Valley, call 567-5100 or Orkin Pest Control in the Prescott area at 775-8772.
Hi, I'm Steve Skurja with Yavapai Silent Witness. Marcel Gonzalez was murdered on this spot almost 15 years ago, back in March of 1997. We know that there is somebody out there who knows what happened in the alley that night. Yavapai Silent Witness is offering an $11,000 cash reward for information that leads to the arrest of Marcel's killer. For Yavapai Silent Witness, I'm Steve Skurja.
The pain will not control us. It will never break us, define us, or keep us still. Because arthritis can't beat us if we beat it first. In the fight against arthritis, you need a weapon. What's yours? Visit the Arthritis Foundation at fightarthritispain.org.
Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. Go to discovertheforest.org.
We welcome you back to the program. It's Countywide. Marla Guerrero, our guest today. Marla's the executive director with Rusty's Morningstar Ranch. RMR, the letters, rmr.org, or the number is 634-4784. And you're in the Verde Valley, I always say, but you're where's the ranch?
We're in Cornville.
Cornville, okay.
Yeah, we're close to the school out there.
Gorgeous, scenic Cornville.
Absolutely.
Okay. And at Rusty's, at the ranch, let me say it this way. Little kids are easier than having a grown adult in your house, no matter who the adult is, especially if it's your mother-in-law. Is it easier for parents to kind of, when they have little ones with autism, and certainly the challenges are going to change when we get into those milestones of teen years, and now with adults, like typically are the ranchers at Rusty's Morningstar. Is that where the ranch came from, and how to address that issue of autistic adults specifically?
Absolutely. Yeah. It was started by Rusty's parents, and they both passed away now. But they, at the time that Rusty was young, there really was not anywhere that understood how to care for people with autism well.
This was when?
Boy, it would have been in the late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
And they certainly didn't want him to go to an institution. And that was about the only option if you didn't have a family member to take care of him. They also didn't want him to be a burden to his brothers and sisters, so they couldn't go out and lead a fulfilling life of their own. And so they had seen different examples, one back in England, Bittersweet Farms in Ohio, and thought this is really what we'd like our son to have a life, to know that he's safe and secure, but also productive, and being out in the country and working with animals and getting your hands in the dirt and actually having a product to show at the end of the day. This tomato I grew, this horse I get a ride because I'm feeding him and taking care of him, this eggs I get to eat. Really wanted that life for their son. So they started this program based on a couple of other examples they'd seen at that time.
Is Rusty's a teaching facility?
Absolutely. With autism, the biggest challenges are communication, understanding of social skills, and behavioral challenges.
Right.
With adults, they've got a lot of practice at all of those behavioral challenges that they've learned throughout life.
Right.
And so it's trying to figure out what's driving some of those behaviors, and is there a better, more efficient way we could address that lets them fulfill that need and yet find a productive way to try to allow them to fulfill that need.
Right.
So one young man we have loves garbage, and he would be digging in garbage all the time. What a better way to try to funnel that energy and desire to be in garbage than to have him recycling. So he recycles everything we have at the ranch. He gets a chance to touch it, sort through the garbage, put in garbage, what's garbage, and recycle what isn't. In this past year, we had Adopt a Highway with Gary Chamberlain. Those crews, once they've picked up all the garbage, then they'll have Reese's and Tire Pro Automotive go along and pick up all those bags of garbage from the side of the road and come deliver them to the ranch. Well, he's just like in heaven. He's got a heyday of recycling with all this garbage that's picked up off the road. And that's a real productive thing that he's done from this desire that drove people crazy in the past because he's always digging in the garbage.
Right.
Now he has a productive way of going about it.
I have some questions about that.
Okay.
That's a fascinating example. It seems to me that a lot of folks, maybe starting with parents on through who knows how far, the tendency is going to be, oh my gosh, he can't do that. That's awful. It's dirty. It's this, that, the other. At the ranch, you're able to think this is, he goes to that naturally, forget about why, or maybe try to figure out why, but channel it into a different way as you described.
Yes.
Is that the typical treatment? And I don't even know if treatment's the right word, but is that the typical way? What I said is Rusty's a teaching facility. What I want to get at is I'm assuming there's not going to be just a regular curriculum like you would see in a classroom over at the school right now. Okay, kids, open your books to page 25.
Oh, definitely not.
Not going to work that
No.
way. Okay, so it's more like what you said with each individual. Find maybe something that they have a talent or an affinity for, and then go from there.
Yeah, it's based on the principles of something called applied behavior analysis. That's really one of the only effective ways that they found in treating people with autism. And it's looking at any behavior that a person has and deciding, is this a behavior that needs to be changed, or is it okay if they behave this way?
Right.
If it's a behavior that needs to be changed, why are they doing this behavior? If we can figure that out, then we can try to funnel that behavior into something productive and something that's less productive.
Right. Would that be, a lot of people are afraid of autism because they don't understand it. There's another thing where folks, I think, maybe sometimes have a tendency to think that autistic folks can become violent or very badly mannered or behaved. I mean, perhaps that's true.
I have that potential also.
So do I. Ask my wife and kids. And maybe we chuckle, but maybe that's how we should look at it. Yes, the answer is yes, because it's true of all human beings.
Yes.
But do you understand my question?
Absolutely.
Folks we're afraid.
Yes.
And is that a founded fear?
And the challenge with a person with autism is they have parts of their brain, it's a neurological disorder. So parts of their brain don't work the same as your brain and my brain might work. And they have a significant deficit in understanding social rules.
Right.
And so if I understand that when I'm angry I shouldn't just reach out and choke you,
right,
I'm not going to do that, even if that's what I'm feeling like I want to do right now. Whereas a person with autism might say, I feel like I want to choke you, and they don't have that social inhibition to know that that's not okay.
They feel the same emotions you and I would.
Absolutely.
But how the response and reaction, that's where the disconnect occurs.
Yeah. And even if they might understand it, they might not have the control, the self-control to say, that's not what I'm going to do.
We were chatting before the show. There's if you were to Google autism blogs, you would find a very interesting world of typically parents that share stories. And one of the common threads that I saw in folks doing that was the idea of personal space, and that there was a lot of stories. And I think that's the quickest in a public setting where someone could get into quote-unquote trouble. Young people just simply don't understand, or the autistic folks just don't have that, where the personal space violation, and immediately people, we've got that. And it just led to story after story after story of conflicts that sometimes ended funny, sometimes ended, not such. Is that it sounds like that's a common characteristic of many autism sufferers, that
many people with autism.
Okay, I said it again.
Suffer.
I said it again. I, at least twice during the show I've said sufferers.
Yes.
And you were very polite the first time, and I said, jump down my throat if I say that again. During the break we chatted about that. And there you go. And, folks like me out there that don't pay attention and don't understand, it just shows an assumption we might have.
We don't like to say that a person with autism suffers from autism.
Right.
Some people are incredibly feel like that autism has brought out their strengths, especially those people that may have Asperger's or some very capable of describing what's going on. It's not something they suffer from. Why would you want to change me? This is who I am.
Right. Right. And I totally understand that, and my apologies for saying that word.
Got me off track. I'm sorry.
And I'll bet you hear that all the time. But it's one thing that we should all be aware of.
Yes.
It'll certainly help our understanding. Let's go ahead and take just a short break. We'll have more with Marla Guerrero from Rusty's Morningstar Ranch, rmr.org. We're back right after this.
Here in northern Arizona and throughout Yavapai County, people count on Orkin Pest Control. With over 100 years of combined experience, nobody knows how to protect your home or your business from harmful or annoying pests like the Orkin Man. To start service, contact your northern Arizona Orkin Pest Control. In the Verde Valley, call 567-5100 or Orkin Pest Control in the Prescott area at 775-8772.
About the dangers of prescription drug abuse. The partnership at drugfree.org.
Hi, Hi, I'm Steve Skurja with Yavapai Silent Witness. Marcel Gonzalez was murdered on this spot almost 15 years ago, back in March of 1997. We know that there is somebody out there who knows what happened in the alley that night. Yavapai Silent Witness is offering an $11,000 cash reward for information that leads to the arrest of Marcel's killer. For Yavapai Silent Witness, I'm Steve Skurja.
Every year, 2 million kids play doctor by taking pills not prescribed to them. Talk to your kids about the dangers of prescription drug abuse. The partnership at drugfree.org.
Again, welcome back to the program. Marla Guerrero today. Rusty's Morningstar Ranch, rmr.org online, and the phone number is 634-4784. Do folks with autism know they have autism, or that they have a challenge, or however you want to look at it? Do they understand that there's something
Some people
different?
Do. Some people don't.
Some do, some don't.
Yeah. I guess I'll go back to you and I, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be behaving in a manner and I don't even realize it, and then after a while I say, man, I was really obsessing about that thing, you know. So some people are very aware what's happening with them. Other people may become more aware, and some people it's just, this is how I am and how things are. Yeah. If you think about it, that would be a nice place for us all to be. I was going to say, you know?
Which is the better of those, you know, and you can't really answer that either, but I think I'd rather just kind of float along and not be concerned with those things.
So many people that really understand that they're different, that's their hardest challenge, because they know they're doing things differently, but they really have no control over trying to do it the way people expect them to do without creating this incredible stress. So that puts them in a really challenging spot.
Oh, it would be extraordinary. You think about that.
Yeah.
Would be extraordinarily frustrating.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You mentioned one of the guys at the ranch will actually Google our show that we're doing right now. You've been on in the past.
Yes.
And look for some of the archive programs. Is that because of he's keying on you? I know her? Or because of the subject matter? Certainly it's not because of Brad.
Probably not so much the subject matter as I know these people.
Yeah.
It's the ranch, it's where I live, you know.
Okay.
Something he's familiar with.
Oh, so he gets the whole thing.
Yeah, and then he's just an amazing person, and he'll ask you all kinds of questions about every little detail. Why were you wearing that thing on your shirt? Why were, you know, all of the little details of what was going on with the show.
Sure.
Yeah.
We could do an entire topic on this next question, or an entire show on this next question. I think we only have 1 minute. With these numbers that we started our program with, it sounds like more and more often we're finding autism coming up in I assume, young people. That's where the newest cases are going to be diagnosed. Parents who suspect, are there things you look for? Can a doctor help you?
Wow.
I know, 30 seconds, answer that one. But if there's people, I guess what I'm trying to do is help anybody who might be concerned about those numbers we threw out at the beginning of the show.
The biggest thing would be make sure that you're going for regular checkups with your pediatrician.
Okay.
They're really trying to get an autism-specific screening at 18 months, again at 24 months.
Okay.
It has to do with the way the child reacts to verbal commands, if there is limited interactions to that, the way that their social functioning is, their eye contact, things like that. If they do really repetitive motions of lining up things or something they just do over and over, but to really stay in contact with your pediatrician and make sure they go for those screenings that they should be getting on their well child checks.
The best way to do it. Marla, we thank you very much for what you do at the ranch, as well as joining us here today on our program. Marla Guerrero, Executive Director, Rusty's Morningstar Ranch, rmr.org, 634-4784. It's countywide. We'll see you next time.
This has been Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday as we tackle the hot topics and talk to the decision makers across Yavapai County. That's Countywide with Brad Miller and Paul David each Tuesday and Thursday on this Yavapai Broadcast.